Good morning and welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. Anyway, today, look, it's back because y'all are going to have to brace yourselves for this one. And that's about the most I'm going to say about it because you know what? I don't need to say any more than what I've already said in the past. Other than brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because things are going to get interesting. I thought it was interesting back in 2000, but it's really interesting right now. So, anyway, what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to switch my accounts, and if I could get this thing to shut up, I'm going to switch my accounts, and I'm going to read a couple of comments, and I'm going to respond to them because, that's just the way things work. And if you love boating, you'll love this. Not really. That's the boating club or some damn thing. Let's go to YouTube Studio. And I can find my... I should have probably prepared for this before I got into it. But, I was listening to Gordon Lightfoot and enjoying the music, and it was nice. It was nice. I like Gordon Lightfoot. Brings back memories of when I was a kid. My parents had the Gordon Lightfoot, I guess it was about the time the Edmund Fitzgerald sank, and they had that song, the Edmund Fitzgerald, and just some really good music. If you don't know who Gordon Lightfoot is, you can check him out. He is old, he's a Canadian artist, but anyhow. So I got 55 comments on here, and I'm going to go with the newest first because, hey, there's just a lot of them. And I was talking about the mole plow, or they call it a mole plow. But it was a subsoiler with a mole, which was an elliptical ball that was pulled on a chain. No, not your wife or girlfriend that you dislike, but a piece of iron that was hooked to a chain that you drug through the ground, and it made a hole. I'm seriously considering doing this. I don't know why, but sometimes when you go back to old technology, yes, it took horsepower to do it, but old technology like that, there was reasons for it, and sometimes they're forgotten reasons. I mean, that deep tillage tool that doesn't really disturb the ground that much, and it would be really awesome to do that, just to run this fertilizer down those shanks. I need a 4 or a 6 shank subsoiler with 6 or 8 inch wings on it to just heave that hard pan and break it and drop that fertilizer down into the crack. Now I was talking with a fellow, I believe he's in Connecticut, and he's had this idea. He's got a 3 shank, which I think with a 3 shank on 30 inches, if he just ran them down the 2 outside shanks, down the outside, that it would move across within the soil, and he would get the benefit that we're all looking for. We're all looking for higher yields. As dumb as it is, I mean, I've been an advocate for growing less for more money for years, but you know what? Nobody's going to do it. I'm just a talking head on here that nobody wants to listen to anyway, because I'm just the foolish farmer from the East Coast that doesn't know anything. And I'm going to talk about anhydrous ammonia as well. But anyways, let's get on to these comments. Matthew Shaw, we used to use a mole plow for laying water pipe. Yes, that's exactly what these things were used for, too. A great tool for the job. The mole plow, you didn't have the mole on behind it. I don't think you would have had the mole on behind it, because that plastic pipe would run down a tube, and they still do it that way today, only with much larger tile. So before you rip it up, might be F-all in it, and you will bury the good stuff that the young roots can't get to. Okay, so that's a great point. I'm not looking for the young roots to get to it. Okay, this is what I would consider nutrient building. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the first stages of life in that plant. What I'm looking for is when that root is getting down there 2-3 feet. You get down below this nutrient level, or to the hard pan, which is around 8 inches deep or so. Nothing gets through that. It's just down there. Sometimes those roots will hit it and actually follow the top, and then you get weak root strength. And I think that's what a lot of my lodging problems were this year, was because of that hard pan. And here comes my sexy wife and my young son. Look how beautiful this girl is. and my son is just awesome. Look at this guy. And whoa!
Ooh.
Gonna go down them stairs in a big old hurry.
Scares me.
Did you almost bite the dust? So anyway, yeah, I'm looking for nutrition for the old roots, not the young roots. All the regular fertilizer will be put in its place at the beginning of the season before I plant, just like I did this year. Broadcast, work it in to the 4-inch level, and then plant a day or two, a week later or so, whatever the weather allows me to do. The NP and K that I put down there, I think I'm going to settle on like a triple 19 or a 12 24 24, probably a 12 24 24 at a 100-pound rate down in there deep. I would probably put only 100 to 150 pounds of that deep. Now, that's just my thoughts. I don't know if this is going to work. It's, you've never tried, you never know, and that's what I'm doing here. So as far as the young roots getting to it, I don't care about the young roots. I'm looking for the later in the season. Tober Fisk asked how the sweet corn was this year. The sweet corn was fine. I enjoyed it. I can't eat the new varieties of sweet corn because of my body. It is I have an intolerance to food. It's not an allergy. According to my father, he went to an allergist and they're like, yeah, you're allergic to dust mites and a tomato. And that's about it. And shit, I got you. Why you look bald, huh? You need another haircut? You got thinning hair. You're looking like Dad. Anyways, Northeast Ohio Farmer sent a link. You can check that out. The Hay Team TV, have you used a Kloss baler? No, I've been up close to them. They're very similar to the Kuhn Deere balers. And, Kloss is, they're fine. I don't really have a problem with them, but we don't have a dealer that well, I guess we do have a dealer that's somewhat close, actually a little closer than Messick's, but I don't think they're in the high density range that I'm looking for. I don't know. I'm looking forward to see the new bale spear being built. It was built by my nephew. I just guided him to as best I could and let him free on the rest of it. And he did okay. There's a few things that I would have done very differently, but he did it, and I was like, well, you got to do this if you're going to do that, but that's okay. It's my money, my steel, and I pay him to do this stuff. So I would have liked him to do a couple things differently, but it happened. And then, of course, we get to Jeff Hoser. Like your idea on ripping. What about old cedar box with drive metering, a hydraulic motor, any chicken egg operations nearby you? Well, what I'm going to do is not chicken boxes or what do they call it? Seed boxes. No, I'm going to get fertilizer boxes, like off of the John Deere for 7,000 planters or the more modern fertilizer boxes. And those metering wheels, there will be a drive wheel that runs on the depth gauge wheel. Yes, the depth gauge wheel on the ripper, so that when I hit that, it just turns away and cranks it down in there. Now, getting the speed right will be done, obviously, through sprockets. That's just how we'll do it. And I'll set that up just like any other, fertilizer application, and drop it down. Snot on the keyboard. Icky! You going to eat that? No, don't do that. Here, let me sleeve that off your little piggy nose. So there you go. And then we have my neighbor over here, Mr. Frank Kocius. He says, would you stop lying about how the neighbor farms and mind your own damn business? Well, I've done a pretty good job of minding my own business. I just drive down the road and observe things that are happening in my neighborhood. And yes, I have done stupid things in the past, and you are now taking over the torch, and you're running yourself to the end zone on stupid things that you're doing, like planting soybeans on July 22nd in Everettstown, New Jersey. And if you don't think that that's the date you planted, I got a timestamp on my camera when I took my pictures of you. It was worth the trip. So please don't try to file for crop insurance on that frosted out soybeans, because I would love nothing more than to burn your ass to a stake for what you did to me. Anyways, moving on. Alan B., do you farmers rip deep in the 90-degree angles to plant at the crop? Now, I'm not going to go crossways. I don't believe I'm going to go crossways, because it would send each one of these farms, it would send the water down to the far end of the field, and then I would create a swamp at the bottom. And the other problems that may create is any of that phosphate and potassium that I really want, and that little bit of nitrogen that I'm going to put deep, that will follow them slots just like the water and end up down at the bottom of the field. And I don't want that. I kind of want it to stay where I put it for the most part. And there you go. Let's see. Goggin Fuhar. 2019, we all need to grow 150 bushels of corn to make money, which is true. I agree with that. I said that. In 2020, I'm shooting for 350 bushel corn. Although this is like all of us. We are all sick people. Yes, we are farmers, and we will do things that are maybe sometimes not the most intelligent or well thought out. We all want to have that bumper crop because that is what we live for, creating huge amounts of grain so that we can go down to the coffee shop or talk to our friends or brag to our adversaries and just say, hey, you know what, I produce 308 bushels of wet corn to the acre on a farm that I farm, and they all tell you you're a freaking liar, and that's the end of it, But truth be told, 308 bushels on that particular farm was what I got. I would love to push it to 350, 400 just because I think it can do it. I really do. Careful going down those stairs. Careful. Okay, this guy Eddie F says ripping ground will help. Needs to be done in the fall. Can cause crops to fall over and drop into the furrow. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it in the spring. I'm going to rip it deep, and I'm going to disc the seed bed to that 6-inch depth, so that the seed can just sit nice and comfortably in the seed bed where I want it. Right along with all that fertilizer that I put on the top, whether it's compost and NPK, which more than likely will just be potassium and nitrogen, and the rest I got enough phosphate through other means of other means of fertilization. Okay, it's not going to fall into that slot. They do that down in down in North Carolina. They plant through these rippers. It seems to do really well for them. The roots follow that down, and it does a really good job. I'm not going to do that because I want the DMI ripper with the wings that actually heave the ground and fracture that hard pan deep and allow the roots to just channel their way down there. There just has to be something down there other than water for them to grab. Francis S. He says, if it goes to $5, they will flood the market and will drop back quickly. With high-priced corn and beans, how in the hell are dairy farmers going to pay their feed bills? Well, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the dairy industry is dead and killed by the soft drink industry. If you watch TV and you see a milk commercial come on, it's like, yeah, maybe I should buy some milk. But if you watch a Mountain Dew commercial, you're going to be flying over mountains and diving deep into the water, and you're going to, take dirt bikes and do whatever. You'll be able to run a marathon in half the time that a normal person would run, and then you go out and buy sugar water that destroys your body from within. So as far as milk is concerned, I'm sorry. Grain will go to beef and chicken and pork, and the dairy industry, I'm sorry, you're just not going to get it. They'll go out of business in droves until milk is so scarce it's like hen's teeth. But you never know. They'll probably come out with, soy milk or almond milk. Oh, wait a minute. They've already done that, and they got better commercials than the dairy industry because dairy farmers pay all that money in to advertise, and the assholes that are supposed to advertise take that money, line their pockets by Cadillacs, Lexuses, BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, Bugattis, Lamborghinis, and all the other fancy cars that you can possibly get your hands on. Jaguars are in there as well. Yes, Rodney Jones says, yes, DMI will bust that hard pan. That's my goal. John Warren. Now, I haven't pre-read these. The only one that I did pre-read was from the neighbor up here who is handicapped, both mentally and physically. And yes, he advertises it on a little sign there. and in his truck. So that's okay there too. John Warren, I have a neighbor that done with that ripper. It did work, but didn't get the full results he was hoping for, but it did help out some. I run a mile with 2 lifting wings on my ripper with 5 shanks. It takes about 45 horsepower per shank on half my ground. The other half, I've seen it bring 300 horsepower tractor to its knees. Well, yes, I'm probably going to settle on a 4 shank over the 6 because, the 8530, even though it is 375 horsepower, 374 horsepower, it's going to be a matter of weighting it on the front, which I can do. I have enough weight. But I don't need to bring the tractor to its knees to do its job. I would rather do the job at like 4 or 5 miles per hour, ripping that ground, rather than 1 or 2 miles an hour and just burning a shit ton of fuel for 2 extra shanks, So there you go. Done that with a ripper. I would like to see the statistics on that. I mean, if I push, if I gain 5 to 10 bushels to the acre by doing just the fertilizer, or gain 5 to 10 bushels to the acre for just the ripper, so you could go, say, 10 to 20 bushels to the acre more, which would make it more than worth it for me. I'm really looking for root strength and stalk strength by breaking that hard pan up, like really breaking the hard pan up. My chisel plow, we chisel plowed at 8 to 10 inches, and to be honest with you, I think that the hard pan, it is compacted pretty bad down there. You can see it when you dig. Got into a little bit of a rut situation with the combine, and it burrowed down to packed soil. I mean, it went right through plow depth, right down to packed soil. So this ground has not been treated very well in the last 20 years. My grandfather died in 1992. My uncle farmed for several years after that, right up until I believe 2000. I did some farming there in 2001 or 2, and then he phased out and just rented the farm out to a guy that just used it up. He used it up. There's nothing down there. No lime, very little phosphate and potassium, but I did make money on it by doing what I did, so there's money left over to do the jobs that I want to do, which is advance the ground to the point where I can grow what I feel the ground has the potential to do. And it should be fun to do. It should be really fun to do. And I'm going to do it with old style technologies, I think. I think that the old farmers had ideas that worked very well, like the mole, like a single ripper. Well, I'm not going to go with a single ripper. I'm going to go with a 4-shank ripper. And I think that there are some practices that are done throughout the country that are different than here. And to get those nutrients really deep into the soil to begin with, because it won't go anywhere. The ground... The water table is, the water table is deep, but water goes up, water goes down. Nutrients come up, nutrients go down. So if we've got this percolation going on, or this, percolation going on, which perks down, perks up, the root systems, as long as they go down there and there's something there for it, it will improve the soil health. At 150 pounds of, say, 12, 24, 24, to the acre, I think I'll do all right. I really think that that'll make a huge difference. It sounds like a minuscule amount of fertilizer for corn, but I'm not going to change anything else that I do on the upper crust, or that upper 6 to 8 inches. It's going to be the same. Leslie, check out Earth Engineering Company UK. Everyone here in Northern Ireland highly rates their pan busters. I will look at that. Earth Engineering. I should probably write that down. Earth Engineering. What small square balers do you like? None. I hate the little bastards. But if I was going to buy a new square baler, believe it or not, it probably would be the inline Agco Heston. Agco Heston, Agco, I guess they're the Massey Ferguson now. I think that those make a tighter square bale and they stroke faster, and I don't know, it just seems to me like they're better. I mean, I run the New Holland because it's the same damn baler they've made for 75 years. Check out Ag Storm Box, totally sealed, form dirt rain. What? I don't even know what the hell that was. Was that English? I think it's the same. Is the name? I think that is the name. Ag Storm Box. Oh, for the, yeah, okay, I got you. Now I know what you're talking about. The box that goes on the back of the baler. You should try to get some of your older tractors going again. They all run. The 4430 needs to be brought in the shop. I'm going to do some work to that just because it was my grandmother's tractor and it needs to be fully functional. Engine, transmission are fine, but I do have a couple oil leaks, and I'd like to get those all straightened out and back in the field just because why not? Day trading is still going on. Use an adhesive sealant. Get Skiaflex from the roofing area. Home Depot. Be aware, metal boxes always gets condensation. We had good luck with the heavy-duty OTR truck boxes out of poly. Actually, to be quite honest with you, plastic gets more condensation than metal. I don't know why, but I got poly boxes on the sprayers, both sprayers, and they have a seal on them, and they always have water running in and out of them. Just water. It's ridiculous. But yeah, just drill a small hole in the bottom and put a baffle in there so that the water can run out, and you'll be fine. We call mold draining in GT Great Britain. Some use DH to pull them. Mold draining. I'm going to have to look at that. Iron worker. John Flynn always wanted to put road pack and perlite down. Road pack and perlite down 12 to 15 inches deep. Was not smart enough to do it. Perlite. Well, why would you want to put perlite down there? I mean, for drainage, I get it. I mean, that's what that whole thing was for. But road pack? I mean, like gravel? I don't know. I don't think I would do that. Dad used subsoiler on pasture field that had 60 head of cattle on it. Sows ran up to 50 plus years. Took 2 years to loosen up cross pattern on subsoiler to break up compaction from hooves. Absolutely 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. We had the pastures up above. You got down that far below the sod level. The grass, you could literally rip it up in that hard pack from cows' hooves. You know, you take a 1,000-pound cow on 4 hooves that are the size of a 6-inch circle. There's a lot of weight pushing down on that. Yeah. Engineers get paid to come up with something new. If they didn't, they would be out of a job. Engineers come up with pieces of equipment to sell to farmers, and the farmers have to figure out what the job is. That's what engineers do. A farmer builds something. They build it for the job that they need it to do, and it works. Sometimes it's crude, sometimes it's ugly, but most of the time it does the job that they intended it to do. All right. The test on placing fertilizer down with a ripper. This is Peterson Sawmill Service 2. Ripper would be interesting. You bring up a good point with root health nutrition. I do recommend the wing type tips on the Ripper. Have found the new 360 bullet points way better than the stock points. Because I've seen those. They're round with the wings on, and that's your mole. I don't have your ground, though. These tips span 14 inches across, and if you can move your shanks closer together a little, they do little better. Deep soil health is just as important as the top. Anyway, cool idea. Try and see what happens. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. You know, I mean, what's the worst that can happen if I do it? I see no results, you know, and I feel like I've wasted my fertilizer. Well, I don't know. I guess that could be the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is that I see an increase in yield, or not even an increase in yield. I'm perfectly happy with my yields, but an increase of stalk health, and they can withstand hurricanes and wind more, and coons and deer. That's the other thing. 500 acres, you're going to need more bins. No, not really. I'll just pre-sell and keep the corn going out as fast as it comes in. That seemed to work this year pretty good. Brilliant Zone Commander, Daniel Wesley's Sponalgal. Okay, I probably butchered your name, but Daniel Wesley Sponalgal. Hope that was correct. Future Farmer, what is the fodder used for? Compost, mushroom barns? Well, a little bit of both. It will go into the dairy industry for bedding, or any beef, dairy, it'll go for bedding. And the mushroom barn will take the top and bottom bales, or the bales that are not good enough for the bedding. So there you go. And I've made that commitment to them. And so even if I don't sell to bedding, even though I've already made the contracts or contacts and they're going to do it, even if they say, hey, you know what, we got enough fodder where we're at, you can do whatever, I do have a mushroom grower that will take it. And the price is not bad. So there you go. Dan W. Hi, Wes. I have a 5-shank Univerfirth on a 8210 John Deere. You know, it was back there, but it handled it pretty good. When I was young, I had worked on a small dairy, and they had a number 22 John Deere single shank with a mole. And we pulled that with a 4010 diesel. Yep, that's about what my grandfather pulled his with a 4320 and a 706 with a turbocharger. When I would lift it out of the ground, the front of the tractor would come off the ground, which was great fun. We hit headlands with it before moldboard plowing on clay. Yes. Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. When you moldboard plow year after year after year, you're only loosening up the top 6 to 8 inches. Very rarely does anybody go any deeper than 8 inches, but that shear just cuts that right along, and it smears it, and that can create a barrier where the roots can't get down through. So that shank really did make a big difference. Steve Holton, I've known that name for quite a while. That's what I like about you, Wes. You're always thinking. If there isn't a proper tool for the job, you are always modifying something to make one. I got a whole drawer full of weird tools that nobody knows what they're for but me. Oh, anyways, 26 minutes of me yammering on. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you didn't, then I'm sorry. This isn't over yet, and when it is over, we will accept the results for what they are, and if the results are different than what happens in the court case, it's going to be a wonderful show where there is lots of popcorn and screaming, shouting, burning, looting, and other crazy things. But enjoy it because it's life.